my name is Jennifer and welcome back to my channel. So I realized I have not done an actual tutorial for a long time. I know I've been doing a ton of palette reviews, so let's just get back to a couple of tutorials. So this one I want to do an in-depth tutorial about how I do a cut crease. Personally, I know everybody has a different way of doing it, just like how, you know, all kinds of makeup. This is just how I personally do it, and I have been practicing this for a little while now, and this is just the way that works best for me. And so hopefully if you have not attempted one or you tried one and it didn't work, hopefully like you can learn something from this video to try to incorporate into your routine. Might not work for you, might work for you, but this is just how I personally do it. So let's get started. So off camera, I just did my foundation, setting powder, and then my brows. I also set the foundation that was on my eyelids with a flesh colored eyeshadow. I don't use eye primer because my eyes are very uneven. So this eye is super hooded. This eye is not really. So eyeshadow primer for some reason makes my eyeshadow come out unevenly between the two. So that's why I just don't use it altogether. And so today we are going to be working with the Saharan 2 by Juvia's. This is an absolutely beautiful palette, and I don't use it enough, really. So I'm just going to be describing the colors as I go because this works with any combination of colors, really. So first I am going to be taking this brush. It is very fluffy, and it is just a fluffy brush that some people use to put eyeshadow into their crease, into their transition color. So I personally don't, like when I say crease, I actually mean the like hollows of my eyes, like where my eyeball ends. Because my eyes are so hooded, that's where I like to put my transition color. That's where I like to cut my crease because then it makes my eyes look even though they're not. And this works on hooded eyes as well. Like don't go to where your quote crease is, because that doesn't work for hooded eyes. You got to go all the way up to where your actual eyeball ends. And so that is where I am putting sort of like a transition color, one that's not too light, not too dark, and I'm blending that out really well with this big fluffy brush. So I did not like go back and pick up a bunch of pigment. I basically picked up pigment once, noticed that it was enough, and I am just spending the rest of my time blending this out. And so I want this to be pretty blown out like this. So next what I like to do is I like to take a darker color, and this is what I would, so I'm kind of doing what I would call like a half cut crease where it's like not all the way out to the outer corners of your eyes. So I want to use a darker color on the outer thirds of my eyes, and then I'm also bringing it into like right where that, like right where my eyeball socket is, like right where it ends. That's where I want to eventually cut it as well, but I want that depth, that definition to like look like I have a crease there. But this is more concentrated, so not as blended out as the color that I just put on in my quote crease. So just take a darker color, do something like this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with that big fluffy brush. I am not taking any more pigment. I am just using that to blend out the top. I'm just going to go over the top. I'm going to go over like this outer corner right here, and I am just blending that out, running my brush over it again and again. And so I found that with eyeshadow, you just really have to be patient with the colors and spend lots of time blending them out. So after you are happy with that blend, or you're sick of doing it, which is basically where I got, I know this left side is not perfect, but it is what it is. I went in a little bit too much with that red, but it's okay. We're gonna make it work. Okay, so then what I like to do is I like to take a flat brush, kind of like this. I would like it to be stiffer, like you see how flat it is. I like to be stiffer, but I also like the top to have sort of like an arch to it. That is what I like to use to cut my crease. And for foundation, my goodness. For concealer today, I am using the BH Cosmetics Pro Concealer. I think any concealer would work, honestly, your favorite concealer. I personally like to buy the concealers just a couple shades lighter because that just helps the eyeshadow pop. So I'm just taking some of that concealer and putting it on my brush, you want to go in with like a little bit at a time. You don't want to pick up too much product because then like it's very hard to control and there's like no taking it back once it's on your eye. So what I'm doing is I am filling in like the first half of my eyelid, and then I'm very carefully taking the brush and going up to, again, like right where my eyeball ends. Like, it's so weird to talk about that, but right where my eyeball ends, kind of like that line of dark color that I have in that crease, I want to basically like cut that in half. And so I'm just drawing a half arch, and I'm stopping about halfway across my eye, maybe a little bit, and just blending that part out a little bit so it's not so much concealer there. But I basically want that same effect on both eyes. And when you bring it up to your eye socket, that basically gives the illusion that you have even eyelids, even if you don't. And if you have hooded eyes, this will allow the color on your cut crease to actually show up. So getting them to be even is basically the hardest thing ever. Do you see how I basically like made it bigger and bigger until I felt better about it? Like, I started on this eye, it was not so big, and then I went to the other one, then I got bigger. Then I had to come back to this one to make it even bigger. It's kind of like winged liner. That's just how it is. It's annoying. So because I went a little bit higher than I originally wanted to, I am actually going to take that darker color that I used second. I'm going to take a flat brush like this. This is, again, a very thin brush. This is a brush that I would usually use on my lower lash line. And I am going to take that darker color and go just above where I cut my crease to help clean that up a little bit and to help add that definition, like pretending I didn't go too high on this, you know what I mean? And so, because yeah, I feel like I had covered up a lot of what I already laid down for that darker color, so this will just help clean that up and make it look a little nicer. Okay, so I feel like that is a lot better. You can do you see how you can like see that crease definition a little bit better now? Maybe it's just me. Okay, moving on. So what I like to do now before I pack on the color is I like to take that darker color again, and I like to just blend where that concealer meets my, like, not concealer, on the outer corner. So I just like to blend that out a little bit before I start with the shimmers or whatever you want to pack onto the cut crease. So just blending that in a little bit, putting some more color on there. Don't worry if it's a little bit patchy, you'll go back. You'll always go back. So at this point, some people will opt to put one color over the entire cut crease. I'm going to do probably 2 different colors just because I want to get into some of these colorful colors, these like bold colors in this palette. And so I think I'm going to do the blue on the like inner corners of my eyes, and then this like coppery red in the middle. So for this, I like to take brushes that are a little bit stiffer, but also look like they're like a cross between what I use for the cut crease and eyeshadow brushes. Like, they still have that like arc on the top, but they are fluffier. They're not quite as like, I don't know, they're not quite as stiff, but they're still kind of stiff, you know what I mean? And this is because I want that arc to hug the line on my cut crease. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually going to start with the middle color first, that coppery color, pack that on, and then I'm going to go in with the blue and pack that on. And basically what I'm going to do is alternate between those 2 colors and then that dark color that I had on the outer corners of my eyes. I'm just going to alternate between them until I basically get the blend that I want. And just being really careful when I lay on the shimmer not to go too high, just taking your time, going slow, trying to make them even, which is always the struggle. Okay, so I am pretty happy with that. I hope the camera has stayed in focus majority of the time, but I just want to zoom in and let you guys sort of see how I blended that and how the cut crease kind of looks. And I really like how this one turned out, honestly, because the middle color, I felt like does do a really good job of transitioning, and I just love this. Now I can see, sorry, just got a text. But I can see kind of where I should have done a better job blending right here now that I'm so close to the camera. But that is basically how I do a cut crease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to smoke out the bottom of my lash line with the same darker color right here, pop on some lashes, finish my face, and just show you what that final look looks like. Okay, so I've just finished the rest of my face, and I am just going to zoom in a little bit. I went a little bit crazy on my highlight, so sorry that it like kind of got close to my eyeshadow. But this is what the finished look looks like. It is very similar to where I kind of left you. You know, I really did just pop on lashes. I did not even put on upper eyeliner. I did tight line my eyes a little bit, but put on some mascara. Finish the rest of my face. But I hope this tutorial was helpful for the beginners that are trying to learn how to do a cut crease. I try to do this kind of in real time, so I'm sorry if this video is like ridiculously long. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, or if there's like anything you guys are struggling with, just let me know. I'm happy to make a tutorial as long as like I actually know how to do it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!